Welcome back. Diane, how are you?
I am great. Karen, how are
Great.
you?
Good, good. So we started talking with each other today about, did you get out and ground this week, right? Did you get out? What did you like? Did you need to go out and ground? And Diane, did you find yourself able to get out and ground and connect this week with nature or the earth?
Yes, I did. We actually had a lot of rain. I live in North
Mm.
Carolina, and we did have quite a bit of rain early in the week, but I went out in the rain. That's one of the things I love to do when it's warm, when the weather permits, is just standing on my back deck and
Mhm.
feeling the rain, like just and it's I just envision it's just clearing and cleansing any negative energies or limiting beliefs or whatever. So I did do a little rain cleansing and grounding. I usually do go out every morning in my backyard with my dog
Mm.
and barefoot, no matter what the temperature is. And sometimes I do a little bit of yoga up there too, but just grounding and being in my garden.
Mm.
um, those are some of the ways that I did, and I always do a little meditation practice, usually a short one in the morning and a short one before bedtime, setting an intention and just releasing, all that's not serving me in this moment. How about you?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm up in New England and it's not been barefoot weather just yet. We've had some really nice days, but it hasn't held. But I did get out this week in particular. Got up to like a nature preserve, and there was a beautiful
Mm.
lake.
Oh, you sent me that
And
picture. That was
I did, and I
gorgeous. Oh my
actually brought
gosh.
my drum, and I rarely get my drum out into nature, and I was able to really do some deep connecting. Um, that felt.
And you had the what do they call the Koshi bells?
Oh, we had Koshi bells with us. There was one point, oh my gosh, there was one point in my friend and I, we brought our crystals. I brought crystals to leave behind. That's something I'm trying to
Mm.
give back a little bit.
Mm.
Um, and we had she has these beautiful chimes. They're called Koshi bells. They're made out of bamboo. And we hung them in one of the trees we were sitting
Mm.
under, and we had our hands on the tree. And now, if you had met me 5 years ago, never. Never. I wouldn't even have been out in a nature preserve. And it was just such a beautiful grounding and connecting and actually even like channeling messages through the tree. So that was
Mhm.
just such a beautiful time.
I
I
love
and
that.
we also had rain, and you were just talking about like that rain, and that could be so cleansing, right? And releasing. And there was one afternoon this week that it was cold and dark, and I had a lot of tension in my body, and I couldn't get outside. And I found one of those YouTube um screensavers. It's like sometimes there's a crackling
Oh
fireplace,
yeah, we usually have one on at Christmas time.
right? And I found a beautiful one. It was like being in a Hobbit home from the movie The Hobbit. And it had like a round window, and there was a little cat sitting on the couch, and there was just rain outside of that
Mm.
window. And the sound, just sitting in that
Mhm.
sound, like it just brought me back to my peace. And I felt so calm. And I literally, like the sun was going down and it was dark, but I still had that beautiful comfort around me. And I just had a lot to let go. I had been holding it in my body. So even though I didn't get outside that day, there was this little trick I found just to
I
have that
love that.
ambiance going on in the background. So that was fun.
I love that. And I don't know, there's just something we're sort of in thunderstorm. I was gonna say hurricane, but we haven't had any of those yet, but this year anyways. Thunder and just laying in bed and hearing the rain or hearing the thunder is there's just nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I love a good rainstorm. I actually, um, God, I don't know how many years ago. It was probably in 2000 and maybe 2012. I was on a retreat at the beach. It was through the yoga studio that I was teaching at, and there were like five or six of us that went. We rented a house, and um, I think it was in March, so it wasn't that warm. And I had gone out for a walk and it was off season. So there was hardly, I don't think there was anybody on the beach. And it started to rain. So I turned around to walk back and I was barefoot, even though it was a little chilly. And I decided to close my eyes
Mm.
and walk and just let the sound of the waves guide me. And it was the most incredible experience to walk on a beach with your eyes closed, knowing because there was nobody I was going to run into, nobody could see me, and just sense like really feeling into the sand and being at the water's edge and feeling the rain on my body. It was an incredible experience.
Oh.
Um,
That's amazing. You're bringing up that memory of mine. For the many don't know, but I recently just traveled to Scotland. I felt called to Scotland. That was a beautiful experience
you
in the
were
middle of.
shown to go to
I was shown to
Scotland.
go to
You were
Scotland.
shown to go
I
to
did.
Scotland.
I was shown to go and connect with the land, and I had a lot of processing of things to do. But I went in January. Like, who goes to Scotland in January? And what I experienced there was wind, right? So
Mm.
a lot of my videos and pictures, like my hair, like it looks like my hair is light coating in the pictures. And it was so the force of it. And
Mm.
it was so different, right? Like we think about air, we think about clouds and ether, but the wind, like sometimes the wind rustles the trees and we're aware of that gentle. And this was like thunderous in my body.
Mm.
And, there were moments where I was just standing with my eyes closed. And at one point I was standing at, on like I refer to it as the edge of the world. Like that's
Mm.
where I felt like I was at.
It's what
And
it
I
looked
felt,
like.
right. And I thought that the wind, which was so powerful, could have literally lifted me up and just brought me over the cliff. And and then I kind of was like, I need like grabbed onto the guardrail that was in front of me a little tighter, but it was like freedom. Like there was just
Mm.
like whatever I needed to release, right? And there was the wind meeting me. And I actually remember at one point nobody was around me and just screaming is like
Mm.
knowing that I was totally
Mhm.
safe and no one could hear me and screaming into that wind
Mm.
and just releasing everything that I don't even know what it was. But it was so important for me to be there.
That is so empowering. And I
Yeah.
mean, how often do we get an opportunity where we can I used to go in my car and scream. I park in a church parking lot during the week when nobody was around, and I would scream like that. And I highly encourage any of you
Mhm.
who are dealing with throat chakra stuff or just feeling like you're not able to use your voice to go scream in a pillow. If it's a windy day and you live near a cliff, do that, or a deserted beach or something if you're able to do that. But I was thinking just now of anybody who might be listening to this who perhaps doesn't have access to um, a lot of nature.
Mhm.
Maybe they're living in a city in a high rise or something
Yeah.
in a small apartment. Um, how would you suggest people
So it is so
ground?
funny because like this came up for me this winter. I felt very isolated and closed in this winter, and I was doing a lot of feeling into that. And um I started to look at grounding a little bit differently.
Mhm.
May not be for everybody, but it was, if you could, I took my socks off and started standing on my wood floors, right?
Mhm.
And like connecting with my wood floors
Mhm.
just in a little bit of a different way. There would be times I would go down to the basement, which has closer to the earth, like where the cellar,
Yeah.
um, that natural stone, right? The sand and the
Mm.
water and the cement that, and to treat that as a conductor,
Yeah.
and stand down there, just again going like it's almost like going into the subconscious, going down to the cellar just to really connect.
Mm.
um, um, Candles, fire, right? Just that,
Yes.
first of all, there's that warmth when like the body, like your body temperature goes up and you have
Yeah.
I like to light a whole bunch, and it's like, oh, it's getting warm in here. um, fire, just
Mhm.
being with it. Like I find that very, very helpful to get connected and back to nature. What are some of your
Yeah.
suggestions?
Well, I love that too, because, no matter where you live, you should be able to access fire
Mm,
and water, um, and some kind of earth element, whether it's a stone or a rock, or maybe it's even you go find some gravel, um, uh, maybe what else? If you happen to have a bath, you could take an Epsom salt bath, or
yes,
or
yes.
getting some crystals, getting some gemstones, just holding them. Uh, and back to the candles, I love doing like a candle meditation where it's very grounding, and you just stare at the flame. You just kind of squint your eyes a little bit and just stare at the flame and look at the colors. Um, yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's so many different ways that we can ground, and why would we ground? Well, because it's when we know, like, for me, I was at my daughter's graduation last week, multiple ceremonies and celebrations, and there was a lot, and thousands of people that I was around, and it was all amazing and wonderful. But when I came back Monday, I just was so out of sorts. And
Mm,
I live near some beautiful trails, so I was able to get out in the woods and touch the trees and be with nature. But for those of you who are not able to do that, and you are feeling, in your head, anxious, worried, frenetic energy, or maybe you live with some toxic energies, or some negative energies, people that are embodying that. It's so important to come back to center, to come back into your alignment, to ground, to even if you're looking at a picture on your computer of nature, or
mhm.
listening to nature sounds, that's
Yeah,
something that you can do. And
and I
guided
just
meditations, of
yeah,
course, on
yeah,
online,
on YouTube,
wherever, on
they're
YouTube,
everywhere,
wherever. Yeah.
wherever. And when we were just talking, it was like flowers, right? Just
Yeah.
bringing flowers
Mm.
in, and they don't
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
long.
Yeah.
But I've also learned a little bit to connect with them more, like
Mm.
thanking them when it's time to release them and welcoming them in. And they always make my space feel so much brighter.
They
And
do.
Diane and I we had talked very quickly before we started about pulling a card. And the flowers brings me to the fairies want to talk. And I thought I
Mm.
would pull a card. I think Diane's going to pull a
I have a
card.
deck too right here. Yes.
Perfect. So I'm just going to see if I can get a
Right.
quick message. Oops, see what the fairies want to
Are we
say.
setting an intention just about
Um,
like,
let's see what comes up.
okay. And this is for everybody. This isn't just for the two of us. What?
Flower power.
Ah!
Literally, right? Like there's the joy, there's the excitement. Spend time with flowers and flower essences to increase your personal healing power. And I want to share flower essences, like they're all over my desk.
Oh
I
my
I am
gosh.
I work with flower essences. I use them. I make them for people. I
You
it's
do.
that's just so funny. Like
I
there's
love
so like
that.
there's the joy. I knew the fairies had something
Yep,
exciting to say.
they
What
always do.
why don't you pull a card?
Um, ah, Beauty with a flower. A flower there and a flower in her hair.
See, we don't need to worry about what the message
I
is going to
am
be.
no, no. Yeah, she's holding the flower, and the message on it says, "I'm deeply and profoundly beautiful." And we all need to remember that we are light. We are light bodies. We are not these physical bodies that we're in. These are our containers. We all hold such beautiful, beautiful, bright lights, the light of our soul. And it's coming back to that remembrance of who we are. And I see all of your lights who are watching, and I feel your beautiful energy. And I'm just grateful that you're here with us. Yeah.
What a beautiful way to close.
What a beautiful way to close. This was
Thank you.
fun. Thanks,
Thank
Karen.
you for
Thanks,
joining us.
everybody.
Thank you.
Yes. Go ground. And share in the comments. We'd love it if you would share in the comments the ways that you like to ground.
Make some
Because
suggestions.
yeah, perfect. Okay, we'll see
Thank
you in
you.
the next one, everyone. Thanks.